You know, when we see like 10 years old people learning about Kabbalah, you know, I think it's like asking to a young kid playing Mozart.
Even Kabbalah itself, it's just an articulation of the structure of reality. It's not the structure of reality. When you start to have that level of understanding of what's going on in the text, everything could be interpreted at higher and higher levels.
I mean, not every Jew is aware about everything into Judaism or into the Torah.
No, but this is actually that's my beef. I don't mean to cut you off, but that's my beef. It's like, why are they not taught Kabbalah? Right? Like, why are we not taught Kabbalah from 3 years old? You know, I started raising my son with Kabbalah at 3.
Because maybe Kabbalah is not the basic stuff. Into the at the very beginning to start to. You know, we say that Kabbalah can be tough, and that to learn about Kabbalah you need to be at least enough instructed about life. But you need to know more about life. You know, when we see like 10 years old people learning about Kabbalah, you know, I think it's like asking to a young kid playing Mozart, you know, from 6 years old. He can do it perfectly, but where is the emotion of it, you know? Where is the existence of life about it, you know? When you see like young people playing wonderful Chopin and Brahms, Rachmaninoff, and then you see a very old guy sitting and playing Brahms and Rachmaninoff, they will play the same notes, but the depth of it will be very different. This is my point.
But their ability to play those notes, if they started at 3, is going to be better.
For sure, but the interpretation will be very different.
Right. So we give the space. We give easily the space to say the kid's 3. He doesn't need to understand what I'm talking about.
Oh, definitely.
But the initiation of the notion, we are one with the Creator.
Yeah, right? I see what you mean.
There is no distinction.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
The initiation is the idea that you don't have to worry about the laws of this world, right? Like, you are in this world. Like, that initiation needs to start, and then the slow, because we're taught that Kabbalah comes from Torah.
Yeah.
And that's a perversion. If you actually know the structures of it, it descends through the 5 worlds. Like, Torah descended through the 5 worlds. So even Kabbalah itself is just it's just an articulation of the structure of reality. It's not the structure of reality. It's the map. It's not the terrain.
It's only a map.
But that map is closer to reality than the Torah is. And then by the time you get down to Torah, you could actually understand
more
that these are archetypal truths that mark the cycles of time of a human life.
Of it. I see what you mean.
Because basically what happens when you read the Torah, what you're actually looking at, or you read the Bible, what you're actually looking at is there are cycles in human life that everybody will walk through.
Yeah.
And these actually teach you how to properly walk through the tribulations, right?
It's a kind of an education as well.
Right. But but if you're aware of, and the whole thing is, if you're aware of the higher structures, like, why are there 613 commandments, right? It's a problem. I'll tell you why. Because there's 10 Sephirot. Right? So you have the 6 on the outside, and then the 1 and the 3 down the middle. Right? And then it's 1 first, and then 3. Why is there 613 and not 631?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Because there's the 6 on the outside, then there's the 1 at the top, then the 3 down the middle. Right? That are corresponding.
Yeah, but also I think that in your case, and like, you know, the Jew people like to ask why. You know, and the Torah has been created for people
every time
about questioning, and this is why it's a very beautiful religion. I don't know that much of the other religion, but when we question a lot, you know, like, why this, at some point I think that something can be questioned and some other things don't really need to be questioned, because at the end of the day you can question everything. Everything in the Torah can be questioned, everything, and you can find the absolute ridiculous, you know, when you question too much. For example, the kashrut, okay? Why do we have to keep kosher, you know? The Torah gives some interpretation.
No, but there's also...
But some other thing can be ridiculous at this point. Everything can be ridiculous at the very, very end of the line. So tradition now.
Well, no, I
tradition
mean, I often say it's like Torah study is there to bring you to the apex of the intellect. Right? It literally brings you to the apex of intellect, I think, technically. What happens before Kabbalah is present is it doesn't bridge you into the higher planes of intelligence, right?
Definitely.
So the intellect has its limitations. There are higher levels of intelligence that are achievable that Kabbalah offers, but while you're only studying through the mainstream lens without the Kabbalah, like, the mainstream lens is fine, but without the Kabbalah, you actually can't achieve those higher levels, right? So this is something that I find very interesting, like when we talk about whether I should convert or not. But I don't think the kosher laws are good enough. Right? Like,
I think it's
well, no, because they don't contend with the modern corruption of the food supply. Right? It's like, really, I'm supposed to eat pesticides? Like, when the Torah was written, there were no pesticides.
I see what you mean.
Right? So really, I'm supposed to eat genetically engineered stuff in accordance with, like, that literally by definition, a genetically engineered tomato is not a tomato in accordance with high law because it doesn't come from God.
But don't you think you question too much the science part of the Torah, and you forget a bit about the tradition aspect? I've been raised in a family where, for us, Judaism is more than just the Torah. It's the tradition.
wanna see it?
What did your mom did?
Quick,
How
quick,
did your
quick,
dad
quick, quick.
did? You know.
Quick, quick,
If
quick.
it's written that I have to do a certain thing that way, but my mom and my dad didn't do it this certain way, I will probably choose how my dad and my mom did it instead of how it's written. You know.
everything about
This
tradition.
it's everything about transmitting. You know.
No, this is beautiful to me. I mean,
I think it's
yeah.
worked better that way. If I will one day circumcise my children, I don't do it because of the interpretation. I don't even know the interpretation. I will do it because my dad probably did it to me. So at some point, I think this is also beauty.
Yeah, but
of Judaism.
there's also things about transgenerational trauma, right? So it's like
Oh,
if
definitely.
we don't break from our parents when they're mistaken, I think we fail our parents, right?
No, I know.
Because the goal is really to do better than the generation before you.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to be raised with the wisdom to break tradition when appropriate,
Yeah.
right? So it's not, the idea of
Personal choice. I see what you're
I
saying.
love the idea of the Jewish people as a whole entity, right? I love the idea; it's beautiful, and I love the idea of the maintenance of the traditions. But in the same breath, the religion's based on the refinement of the religion. Everything's debatable.
Yeah.
Right? So the idea that, well, my parents cut a piece of my dick off, so I'm going to cut a piece of your dick off. No, you have to call it what it is.
know,
right?
I
We
know.
call it a covenant.
It's- I
It's
see
called
what
a
you-
covenant, but it's not a covenant. It's you're cutting off a piece of a kid's dick. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, and if you just call it that, like, instead of let's go to the bris, which means covenant, if you say let's go to the dick sacrifice, right? Probably wouldn't want to do it. Right?
It sounds scarier.
Right. And then, well, it sounds closer to
It
truth.
sounds- yeah,
Right?
it
It sounds
sounds-
closer to truth, and it's involuntary.
Yeah.
It's involuntary, and it's I mean, it's horrible. I mean, I think.
So do you
that-
think it's something that we should remove from
Yeah.
Judaism, or you think it's something that we should
I think
let
it
the
should,
choice of?
No, I think it
you
should
know?
be fucking illegal.
Oh, you think it's?
I think it should be straight up illegal. You can't just say it's my religious practice. Like, it's my religious practice to fucking stab you. Like, that
I see
doesn't
what
make
you
sense. Like, that you can't, like, if I was to grab, like, if you're walking down the street and I was to grab you against your will and cut off a piece of your dick, it's like you'd be kind of pissed about that, right? It's
I
like
see what you
it's
mean.
not like, and like, let's put it this way: is it legal at this point to take a piece of a kid's finger off? Like, just to, like, he comes out of the womb, you're like, oh, you don't need that. It's part of my religion. No, you can't do that. Right? Why do you get to cut a piece of a kid's dick off?
All right, but at some point, I think it's comment je pourrais dire? It's sometimes I don't believe that for some aspect of what life is in general. Sometimes the choice of doing something, there is a rule when you want to belong to a certain kind of people. Like if tomorrow I want to convert into Hinduism, all right. If I read a lot about it, there is a certain way of doing it
Right.
to belong to a certain people.
Right.
I was born Jewish, so obviously it's easier. But when you out of the box and you question yourself, there is many things on what I question. I'm like, oh, why we do this? Why we do that? Why this way? Why this way? Well, this
But
is
the
how it
strength of
is.
the Jewish people is built on more than the foreskins of innocent babies.
No,
right.
definitely.
Like so.
I see what you mean.
So the idea that like it's part of the law. It's
And
like
it's
no,
shocking.
no.
It's very shocking.
In reality, if you ask me, and again, the word Jew means united, right? So the general idea is that when those who are united with God, and this is where it gets like contemporary Judaism into what I would call like Jewish mysticism about what it means to be united with God. The strength of the united people is built on the second soul of Shabbat. It's not built on the foreskins of innocent babies, right? It's you could achieve the second soul of Shabbat as a collective united people and have your foreskin.
I see what you mean, but
So and if and there's a lot of questions to be answered with this because it's like, all right, we've had 6,000 years, Eiffel Mashiach, right? Like 6,000 years, right? Maybe it's
Pretty
because
soon.
maybe it's because there's like no, but like why not all the suffering that's happened? I mean, I think because the men are traumatized from birth is a serious problem. I mean, the scar that leaves on a person before it's hellish. I mean, and I would, when they told me I had to pick my pecker to get the convert, like I would have done, like I wouldn't have cared, but it's like no, this is absolutely, again,
What about if you had the choice?
The forces of, well, you can't give a 7-day-old the choice. You know, it's funny. It's like we can't teach a 3-year-old Kabbalah, but we could cut an 8-day-old kid's dick off. Right?
It's very different. It's very different.
Well, no. I mean, the truth of the matter is that if you listen to like the nature of the consonants and vowels when you're doing, like, why are the vowels not written? Because the vowels represent the spirit of things and the consonants represent the matter of things.
Yeah.
Right? So when you hear a newborn baby born, actually listen to it talk. It's like hee, ho, ho, ho. It actually makes the vowel sounds when it's giggling, right? You could start Kabbalistic training when a baby's a day old, right? By mirroring phonemes and things along those lines. You could, if you watch like you do it Israeli, like the Yuval HaMebubal shows, they're actually Kabbalistically wired shows. They actually
didn't know about that.
They actually teach Kabbalistic truth right within the show. They integrate higher shapes and they integrate spiritual lessons in them. It's absolutely incredible what you can do. I mean, Kabbalah for kids, right? So, I mean, what I think is really important is the tug between dark and light forces in the world, right? And then when you get into the Ein Sof, like the infinite creator, the infinite creator is beyond the good and evil. It's just a pure creative force of raw, loving, raw intelligence that's not.
You want to
split.
be, yeah. You want to. I have the feeling that you want to accept something more about, like. I have the feeling that when we, like you say, cut the dick of a children, of a baby, it divides also the community.
Right, and
in
this
between the people who has the skin and the people who doesn't.
I was just about to say this too. It's very, very important. If you look at Bereshit, right? If you look at the book, Genesis, right?
Bar mitzvah.
Yeah, Bereshit is bar mitzvah.
If you look at Genesis, right?
Mine was Tazria.
We're cast out of the kingdom of heaven for eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So it's the perception of separation between good and evil that actually causes us to leave heaven. Right? So when we come down, in order to bring that state back, we have to transcend good and evil as well as integrating it, right? So we all kind of want to be on the good side, even though we know this division's not actually real. So if you look at any religion, if you look at any of the major Abrahamic religions, what we're dealing with is a primal split between good and evil that I think is embedded in the scriptures. I think that circumcision is at the heart of fucking evil. Like, and it's actually part of the non-dual forces and some of the splits that we see in the religions.
Do you have another example than circumcision?
No,
Because
nothing stands out as clearly to me. I mean, when you start to get into what I would call like fundamentalist addictions to the text, they could start, but those are more interpretative. It is pretty clear in the structure, like the covenant is built on the foreskins of innocent babies, right? That's a problem. The other things are really left to interpretation, but that is like the clearest depiction of evil that I could possibly imagine infiltrating into the scripture. Reality takes a narrative from, like, if you look at the Chinese systems, if you look at the I Ching, when it's actually cracked, shows you the cycles of life, just like the Torah shows you the cycle of life. The difference is that the Torah is written to express it in a narrative form, where the I Ching expresses it in kind of a binary mathematical formula. But it's the same exact unfolding that starts to go down between those two things when we start to look at the, because you can get into a lot of things where when you see the over addictions to the laws, you could start stoning people to death for being gay and things like that. That's like inside.
No, but this is the text, obviously. So this is the Torah
Right.
is an interpretation. That's why.
No,
there is so many
I
movements.
understand. I understand
Yeah.
that. So you can say that, like, I do think that there is a lot of value in reading things and interpreting them, and
Definitely.
and then also, like, this is what it says. It says to do this, so we can't let you off the hook for what you're saying. But then also looking at the context around it and seeing if there's higher interpretation. There's a lot of reason to that, because if I'm arguing that the text itself is split between good and evil, and it's our job to transcend good and evil and then integrate all these forces, like Kabbalistically, the Gematria. Do you know what Gematria is?
Yeah, numbers of letters. What's the meaning of it?
So Mashiach, and I believe it's Nefesh, serpent. Actually, is
Fort, t'as vu?
is actually the same Gematria. Right? They're both 358. Right? So the Gematria for Mashiach and the Gematria for serpent is both 358. 358 is a Fibonacci sequence that runs down the actual right side of the tree of life. Right?
But
so
don't you? No, finish. I will.
So
I will
the
finish
idea is,
that.
like, when you start to have that level of understanding of what's going on in the text, everything could be interpreted at
Everything.
higher and higher levels.
With
When
numbers.
you start to get into, you're not Jewish if you have a foreskin, that's satanic. And it's part, because remember, the function of the text is to reunite the
No,
perceptions of good and
definitely.
evil to come back to the pre-Adamic state.
But if you start to question that, and it can be questioned, because I think the Torah, the base of the Torah is about questioning about everything and understanding why it's written this way and how we should react to this sentence. So don't you think that you are going to question everything around it? Like, all right, why some people says that you're Jewish if your mother is Jewish? What about the people who has a dad Jewish, and not a mother, but he considered himself as Jewish? Because some people got deported during the Second World War.
This gets into the idea of
It can be questioned
the
as well.
actual word EUD means united ones. So if you because there's multiple levels of Judaism, right? There's political Judaism, there's cultural Judaism.
But I'm speaking
there's-
really about, like,
What you're talking about is religious Judaism.
exactly religious Judaism.
So what I'm saying is that, in accordance with those interpretations,
you see what I mean? There
yeah,
is
no, of course, but like if you actually look at it through the five worlds, through the five Kabbalistic worlds, in the highest world, it's just those who are united with God, and then it kind of breaks into cultural Judaism, political Judaism,
no, definitely
religious Judaism.
and history movement changes. So I can understand that, but don't you think that some foundation should not be touched? Like I'm
So where's
playing,
the foundation?
But look, we play chess, all right? What if I say, look, listen, I want to understand why the king is here and not here?
Do you know what the foundation that can't be touched is?
No, I don't know.
The
but-
alphabet. No, the
I
alphabet
know.
is the foundation that can't be touched.
But-
like when you're
It's like a game.
no,
you
but
see what I mean?
But again, so the thing is, I'm so sorry. So the way the pieces move is like the alphabet. That's what you can't change in Torah. Right? And honestly, Aramaic's probably closer than ancient Hebrew, but
I don't
there's
speak Aramaic, but
I don't. I could ask you a lot of questions about that. Aramaic's probably closer. I mean, I'd love to actually talk to you later about Aramaic, because Aramaic's probably, because the idea is that there's a grammar to life, right? So there's the prime
Definitely.
there's the prime causal Godhead, which is the unified creative intelligence that's like one radiant will, right? And when you're at the highest level, there's only one law, and it's the will of God. And that doesn't mean like what God decides. It means the pure force of the will is the only law. As it breaks into DNA and matter and earth
Definitely,
structures,
definitely,
it breaks into an alphabet, and that alphabet can't be contended with. Now listen, I'm very comfortable with the Hebrew alphabet, using that because I know it's the closest thing I have access to. I might argue that the Aramaic and Sanskrit alphabets actually might be closer, but I'm comfortable with saying, for the functions of Torah study, the alphabet is the foundation that doesn't get fucked with. Right? But then the structure of the sentences even, right, can be changed. Right?
okay, I see what you mean. I
So-
understand your point.
So, and that's why they call it Lishon Kodesh, the holy tongue, because the idea is that would emerge from that language cannot be corrupted, and then there is order, and there is.
When you speak with rabbi people, that because we don't know as much, this is only cultural and traditional when we speak.
traditional way.
What I'm pretty sure you got into discussion with some rabbi about it. What do they say to counter what you're saying? Because about the foreskin and about what you're saying.
It's
right
never
now.
come up with a rabbi.
I think you should.
It's never
I
come
think
up
you
with a
should,
rabbi.
because
No,
it could
no,
be
listen.
interesting.
Any
I
rabbis
think
want to
it's
come down
very-
here and talk to me about this?
I think it's interesting.
No,
because people
I
should be open
I'm,
about
I'm
discussing.
friends with a bunch of the mitzvah tank guys. I don't know if
Yeah.
you saw them. So I'll ask them when they come by.
I think it could be a very interesting topic
point out.
to get film
Okay.
of, because
I'll tell you what. One game of chess with the camera. Let's go. Go.
let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. Every time you make a move, you leave a square behind. You see the horse? You see the horse? You see the horse? You see the horse? He was guarding this, and then he goes bye-bye, and now hello.
I see what you mean.
Okay, now I have a material advantage. Right? I have more money. Right?
Yeah.
So imagine. So if I have more money, if I trade down all day long,
You lose at the end.
at the end of the game, I'll have an extra pawn.
I want to hit it.
I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not your rabbi. All right. Now let's go here. We're just gonna trade down. We're gonna liquidate.
Si trade, tu perds. Ne rentre pas dans le jeu de manger.
Alright. I could guard. Oh no, you know what? I don't have to guard this. I just take this. I just take this.
Can I rock?
You could rock. You could roll.
It's like this, right?
Yeah, but you have a problem.
Okay, yeah.
You have a problem.
That's fine.
You're not allowed to castle through check.
Oh, okay.
So see this right here?
So I cannot do that right now.
You see that? Because this square would be guarded.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay, now I see this and I see that you're two moves away from castling, right? So I'm gonna castle, and that's just to activate my rook here.
Okay.
Alright. Good move.
After this one, if you look.
Okay, let's spin this up. Okay, now look, see? The horsey is stuck to the king. See? The horsey is stuck to the king. So take and you can't take back.
Ah, nice. Like it. Yeah.
Okay, now put a little pressure on daddy over there. See, chess is described in 3 elements.
I like it.
Time, space, and material, right? So I move here. It's not that I move here to control your move.
Oh.
You're going to protect the pawn. You're going to see the threat, but I want your move control.
I see what you mean.
Check.
Yeah.
See? Now look, this can't take
And
because
that's
this
why.
is pin. This is. Now remember the lesson before I said control the center, develop pieces, castle?
Yeah.
Notice, is this in the center?
No.
No.
You have one piece in the center,
One
but it's
piece.
pin, and you're not castled. That's why this
No.
is happening.
All right. Definitely.
Leave! You've been in the center long enough. Now it's time to go away.
Qu'est-ce que sur le milieu à droite là? En haut à droite. Non.
Là?
Non. Juste derrière.
Là?
je fais un truc.
There we go. Mwah. Hey! Now look, see? He's scared? Get out of my way, horsey! See? Now we're okay. Alright, and give me the chicken. Now see, look, see they're all lined up. What piece moves like this? What piece moves like this?
This.
This.
Well,
And now,
you're gonna win.
check.
Yeah.
Sur la main.
Ouais.
Then we keep. Oh, we can't do that. We can do that because this guy.
Yeah.
So we make this guy move away. There's 2 ways to attack a piece in chess. You attack the piece. You attack what's defending the piece.
Je joue bien, je
So
joue
here
bien.
I want this square,
Je
right?
joue bien.
Oui, très fort.
Now, guys, listen. When you come to this park, remember we don't play touch move at this table. We play love
Really
move.
nice play.
It's called love move.
Bravo.
Okay. Okay. Tell them you love them.
Love you. Thank you so much.
Say
Thank you
it in Hebrew.
for-
Say it in Hebrew.
תודה רבה.
תודה רבה.
תודה רבה to everyone. תודה רבה to
אני
you.
אוהב אותך.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the discussion. And
You're
thank you
amazing.
for sharing your
You're
vision.
amazing.
It's very
You're
important.
my brothers
The
forever.
most important is to discuss, and this is what I like.
What?
Discuss chess and discuss
Triple cadeau. Triple
life.
cadeau. Triple cadeau. Triple cadeau. Triple cadeau.
Thank you so much.
Game and chess, step on up. It's cheaper than a gourmet coffee cup.